And very happy to have on the line with us right now former Ohio State Senator from the 25th District, Nina Turner, who is also a surrogate for the Bernie Sanders campaign, BernieSanders.com. You can tweet her at Nina Turner. Nina Turner, Senator Turner, welcome back to the program.
Thanks, Tom. Always great to join you.
Thank you for being with us. I'm looking at a piece that Joyanne Reed wrote this morning on the Daily Beast that she was tweeting about. It's titled, "Come on, Bernie, time to level with your dreamers. You must stop indulging people's fantasies." Case in point, the cantankerous Nevada Democratic Convention in Las Vegas this weekend, at which stalwart liberal California Senator Barbara Boxer was booed and shouted down for the crime of calling for civility and party unity. Now, the clip that I have of Barbara Boxer is her saying, Hillary's going to win. We've got this, and repeating it two or three times, which seems not like calling for civility and party unity. I'm not asking you to criticize Barbara Boxer. I'm just astonished by it. I'm starting out editorializing, and you're my guest. Nina, I'm sorry. What, in your opinion, what can this party do to pull people back together? And what the heck happened on Saturday in Nevada? You were there.
Tom, I understand your frustration. I get it. And I do have to say for the record that Joyanne Reed is my wonder twin, a dear, dear, dear friend of mine. So I don't want to commentate on anything that she has written either, because I absolutely adore her. In terms of the senator, and I like the senator. I was in the room when she gave her speech, and people were upset, Tom. They were upset because they thought they saw unfairness. I mean, there was a roll call vote. And that's why I wish that people who are talking about this, who are being Monday morning quarterbacks on something that they weren't even in the room, there was a context to the room. And part of it was that there was a vote called for the rules, whether to accept temporary rules or not accept those temporary rules. And the noes had it. And primarily most of the noes were Senator Sanders supporters. But the chairwoman gave it to the yeses, and then she said there will be no further debate on this issue, just gavel people down. And that is not the right way to handle it. When you are a leader and you understand that tempers, not just tempers, but the temperature is raised, because folks have seen Senator Bernie Sanders be treated unfairly throughout this process. And while people don't want to acknowledge that, from the DNC taking away his access to his voter file, to other things that have happened to the senator along this trail, his supporters understand this, and they want to make sure that he is treated fairly, that they're treated fairly. And Tom, those were delegates there. This wasn't a rally. These were people for both candidates that took out of their time, some of them spending 15 hours worth of their time, to be there to vote for their candidate and to have that kind of thing happen. And so Senator Boxer actually came up, and I'm not sure if Senator Boxer knew that had happened before she took the stage. Maybe that would have
probably not.
Different.
I think if she really knew what was going on there, she's a very smart politician. She is. She probably wouldn't have turned this into a Hillary Clinton victory rally.
That's right. And so the Sanders supporters were just, they exercised their First Amendment right. Now, they should not have booed the senator. I don't support that. I think either side should allow each side the opportunity to speak their piece.
Agreed.
But they did that, and then Representative Lucy Flores and I were asked by the chairwoman, because Lucy was charged with introducing me. Now, here I am walking into all of this, Tom. I'm just there to give a speech in support of my candidate, and I find myself in a maelstrom, there in Nevada. And so she asked the both of us, could we try to bring the temperature down a little bit? And that's Lucy went up there. She made her remarks, and then she introduced me. And then I did, and I gave the speech, and as people watch it from beginning to end, by the time my speech was done, the Sanders side was much calmer. They were very much, yay, yay, yay for our candidate. And even some of the secretary supporters, matter of fact, they gave me a standing ovation as well. That's what a real leader does. I didn't get on the stage and talk against, the secretary supporters. I didn't say to Senator Sanders supporters, you're right, you're being treated unfairly, let's storm the torpedoes. I got up there and brought the temperature down.
Yeah.
Despite how I felt about what was going on in that room, that is the job of a real leader. And that is what we need the leadership of the DNC to do as well, instead of maligning all of Senator Sanders' supporters. I'm disturbed by this, Tom. I really am. And what violence. I was there for 8 hours, and I did not witness any violence in the 8 hours that I was in that room. I didn't just come there to give a speech for Senator Sanders. I came there to connect with his supporters. That's what I did. And there was no violence in that room, Tom, when I was in there.
Well,
None at all.
here's a clip of Debbie Wasserman Schultz, either last night or early this morning on MSNBC, talking about the violence and intimidation. This has been repeated many, many times. Here it is.
When I heard what happened at the Nevada State Democratic Convention this weekend, I was deeply disturbed. Regardless of any campaign or candidate's frustration over process, there should never be a but when it comes to condemning violence and intimidation. Violence and intimidation are never acceptable under any circumstances, and what happened at that convention was unacceptable.
And I pulled up a Yahoo News story today, and it says, Senator Sanders defends his violent supporters.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Where's the violence? Where's the intimidation? What am I missing here?
You're not. And I tell you, now, if the chairwoman is making a reference to those phone calls that were left on the voicemail of the Nevada chairwoman's voicemail, that was wrong, Tom, all day. That was wrong. You
I agree.
Call people, you don't threaten them, you don't threaten their families. But we don't even know if until those people come forward. None of those people said, hello, by the way, I'm a supporter of Senator Sanders, and then, commence with doing, saying the bad things that they said on that line. They said they were upset with the process, and then they threatened her, which was wrong. And we condemn that. We disavow it. The senator has been disavowing that kind of behavior since he started in this race. So this is not new for him. But at the same time, newsflash, these people are grown. Senator Sanders, it wasn't his campaign. It was not him. And there is we have no proof that even the people who left those nasty messages for the chairwoman, we don't even know if they were Sanders supporters.
Right.
But you see how the media took that and ran away with that, and to have the chairwoman of the DNC further feed into that without having a conversation with Senator Sanders, without talking to some of the people that were in the room. I certainly have not gotten a call from the chairwoman. I would have been able to tell her exactly what happened in that room. But Senator Sanders did condemn those messages, Tom. But I will still say we don't know whether or not those were his supporters. That's number one. But it doesn't matter who supporters. It was wrong. Number two is Senator Sanders' campaign office, one of his offices in Nevada, was shot up. And I didn't hear anybody taking 3 or 4 days cycle worth of news to talk about that.
Right.
Leaving nasty voicemails are one thing, and they're wrong, because I don't want anybody to say Senator Turner said it was okay. But shooting up somebody's office where people could have been killed is another. But you didn't see Senator Sanders on national news vilifying the secretary's supporters. Matter of fact, he didn't say much about it, if at all, until recently.
Yeah. Yeah, and not only that, some of his volunteers in Nevada had their rooms broken into and trashed.
Their apartments, that's right. But did you see him running to the Democrat? No, he did not. He just kept on.
So, Senator Turner, how do we clean this up? It seems my take on this personally, and I'm probably totally wrong, is that this got pumped really hard for 2 days, Sunday and Monday, because there was an election coming in Kentucky, and somebody in the Clinton campaign thought, if we can really make the Bernie people look evil, this is going to help us win the election. And because today, all of a sudden, I saw one of the three leaders of the Clinton campaign go on TV and say, okay, we're now happy with Bernie's statements disavowing this. Let's put this behind us. And, of course, the election's over. That's just my personal conspiracy theory. But what do we do to bring people together?
Bringing folks together is a two-way street. The onus is not just on Senator Bernie Sanders, as leaders in the DNC are trying to put the entire onus on him. It is something that Stephen Covey once wrote. He said, seek to understand and then to be understood. Yeah. And that will go a long way for the chairman of the Nevada Party, the chairwomen to first seek to understand and to be understood. We are in agreement on this one thing, which is violent threats cannot be tolerated and violence cannot be tolerated. But let's tell the story correctly. what incidences of violence? I can only speak for the 8 hours I was in the room. There was no violence, but were people frustrated and upset about the process? Yes, they were. Did they make it known? Yes, they did. But they did so in a way that did not threaten anybody. I mean, Tom, imagine being a convention, somebody that's attending the convention, and you got police officers all lined up there. You know, in other words, it was almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. There is a narrative in the media that is really trying to paint the supporters of Senator Sanders as extremists, and nothing can be further from the truth.
Right.
And also, in some ways, trying to make them similar to Mr. Trump supporters, and nothing
Right.
can be further from.
And now they're asking in the media, well, should we use this proof that the Sanders people are out of control as a very legitimate reason to keep them out of Philadelphia?
Oh my! But see, that's what they want. See, they're setting this all up to get the outcome that they want. But you know what, Tom? This is the thing. These are the same supporters. You know what I saw? I saw grandmothers standing up there in front of that stage. I saw fathers standing up there in front of that stage. I saw teachers standing up there in front of that stage saying, be fair and stop cheating us in this process. Those are the kind of people I saw. I did not see extremists. But you know what's going to happen? They're going to continue to push Senator Sanders' supporters so far that if Secretary Clinton is the nominee, either they're not going to vote for her, or they're going to vote for somebody else, or they're not going to show up. That's what's going to happen. That is the risk here.
I hope not. Nina, hang on just a second.
ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archive.
Nina, can you stick around for another 10 minutes or so?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
great.
yeah, I can
Okay.
do another segment.
Yeah. Hang on just a second. We'll be right back. We're back with former Ohio State Senator Nina Turner of the 25th District, spokesperson for the Bernie Sanders campaign. You can tweet her at Nina Turner. And Senator Turner, forgive my calling you Nina. I shouldn't be so familiar with you.
Oh, no, it's okay.
But, we're now our commercial stations have gone to break for the next 4 minutes, but we're still on the air on our Pacifica stations all across the country and across Europe, and we're still on the air on Free Speech TV, on Dish, on Direct, and on cable systems all over the country. So when our commercial stations rejoin us in 4 minutes, we can just kind of recap whatever we talk about here. What would you like to see in terms of outreach from the Clinton campaign to the Sanders, or is that even? I'm not sure what the question that I'm trying to ask is. Where I'm trying to get to at the end is not just bringing the party together, but actually defeating the Republicans in November. So where do we go? What do we do?
Understanding, Tom. There's going to have to be some understanding here. And again, you cannot malign all of the senator's supporters. You just cannot do that with one broad brush. And everybody who knows Senator Sanders, you and I know, the chairwoman knows, the secretary knows, Senator Bernie Sanders is a decent and honorable man running to become the Democratic nominee, and he cannot control his supporters no more than what the secretary can. He doesn't condone this. He doesn't support it. The only thing he has ever said throughout this campaign is that people have a right to exercise their First Amendment. But violence and threats, he has disavowed those. So, again, they need to tamp it down as well. It's a convenient narrative as far as I'm concerned, because the way that they came out on this, I think there's something to what you just said, Tom, and it's wrong. And in order to pull people back together, we have to acknowledge that there's some pain out there. We have to acknowledge that some people don't trust the system. As painful as it may be for the DNC to admit that, there are some voters out there, based on what they have seen, based on how Senator Sanders has been treated, who do not trust the system. So as leaders, all of us have a responsibility of bringing people together and bringing them in. And I think Senator Sanders was exactly right in his statement last night. And another thing, he's a grown man. He can put in his statement whatever he wants to put in his statement. But again, they pounce on his supporters and they pounce on him. And all he has ever tried to do, all he has been doing all of his career, is standing up for the downtrodden in this nation. He stepped into this race because he saw a need. And it is unfortunate that a man who has voted 98% of the time with Democrats is being pushed out in this way. I don't like it, Tom, and I'm a lifelong Democrat, but I call out wrong when I see it, and what is happening here is wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems that way to me too, and I think that there's also a bigger picture, which we're going to hit a break here in about 20 seconds, and on the other side of it, I want to bring this out to that that really we're at an inflection point in this country. We're at a moment of a real possible change because we have an electorate, and I think the Trump phenomenon is an indication of this as well. We have an electorate where people are saying the system is broken, the system is screwed up, and Trump, of course, is going to turn into a standard Republican. He's already started the process, but Bernie, we know who Bernie is. We'll continue this in just a moment. Senator Nina Turner is with us. Hang on just a second here. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. Senator Nina Turner is still with us, former Ohio State Senator from the 25th District, spokesperson with the Bernie Sanders campaign, BernieSanders.com. You can tweet her at Nina Turner. And Senator, one of the things that strikes me that I think is like a thing, something that's real, is that the American people have figured out that banksters have been running the Treasury Department for the last, basically Reagan started this, okay? Putting Bill Bennett in charge of the Education Department, a guy who had campaigned for president on the platform of eliminating the Education Department, putting James Watt in charge of the Interior Department, a guy who said, we should sell off our lands for pennies on the dollar because Jesus is going to return and make all things new, and so it doesn't matter what kind of environmental destruction they do. I mean, he put a guy in charge of the Labor Department, I'm forgetting his name, who hated organized labor. It was the first time in the history of the Republic that a president had appointed to the head of major offices, major cabinet positions, people who actually hated the mission of those cabinet positions. And where that process then became one of not just putting in people who hate what they did, like Bill Bennett, but then replacing them with people from the industries that were being regulated by them. So now you've got a situation where you've got banksters running the Treasury Department, you've got Monsanto people running the U.S. Department of Agriculture, you've got Merck people running the Food and Drug Administration, you've got telco people. Tom Wheeler, the chairman of the FCC, used to be the head of the lobbying industry for Comcast and all these other companies. You've got the Securities and Exchange Commission, which could have any time in the last 7 years issued a simple letter. Mary Jo White has the power to issue a letter saying all publicly traded corporations must disclose their political activity.
That's right.
Could be a one-sentence letter, and has refused to do it because that agency is a captive. Even the Federal Election Commission has been completely dysfunctional. And I think that what people are saying, and this is not a partisan issue, frankly, because this is what the people thought Donald Trump was offering. Now, he's very quickly turning into a standard issue Republican, and we're watching it right in front of us. He's going to be a total sellout just like all the rest of them. But what people want is somebody who's going to come in and say, yes, I'm going to be president, and I'm not going to have, a guy from Goldman Sachs running the Treasury Department, and I'm not going to let somebody from Monsanto run the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and we're not going to have somebody from Pharma running the Food and Drug Administration. And that seems to me to be like one of the core issues of the Sanders candidacy.
Yes.
I would love to see the Clinton candidacy or campaign say, yes, we agree with you on that. We want to go in that direction. What are your thoughts?
I'm with you. Listen, Tom, you said it all. It's the fox guarding the hen house. And people are over it. Their eyes are wide open. They're tired of being lied to just to get their vote. And when people get in office, they do a totally different thing. They're over it, Tom. They get it. And that is what makes Senator Bernie Sanders so attractive, his honesty and his consistency. And, sometimes on the stump when he said, I'm going to do something radical, I'm going to tell you the truth. Well, that is what people want to hear, whether they're on the left or the right. They just want to hear somebody tell them the truth, even if they don't agree with every single proposal that somebody is putting out there. They just want to know that you're going to be, one, uniquely and genuinely who you are, and two, tell me the truth. Yeah. And that is what Senator Sanders is doing. But you're absolutely right, Tom. It would be nice if the secretary would agree with that, because that is the key. You cannot have the fox garden.
I think if she did that, or something, some variation on that, and that, she will easily win this election. I think if she doesn't, and Donald Trump can continue to cause people to think that he's the outsider, it's getting scary in here, Senator. I'm telling you, I'm looking at these numbers. I'm looking at the callers that I get. It's getting scary in here, and it's not that the world was waiting for Bernie. It's not like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, I guess it has been now, of people who have shown up at Bernie rallies have been sitting around going, "Gee, we need a Jewish guy running for president. How about one who's 74 years old? That would do it. Yeah, 10,000 people will show up for that." No, it's not. That's not it. It's the positions he's been taking.
That's right. It's his righteous indignation for the working poor and the middle class in this country, and he doesn't apologize about it. He's not half-measured about it. And it's things that he's been working on all his life. All folks have to do is go roll the tape, and they will see that he has been a consistent champion on these issues. Yes, I agree. And I don't want to turn this into a cheerleading session for Bernie, because I think that, I'm concerned about the future of the Democratic Party, and I think that there's a very real probability, frankly, that Hillary Clinton is going to be the nominee, and I don't want her to go into that wounded. And I do want her, if she is the nominee of this party, to be bringing along the Bernie Sanders voters. Agree, but you got to earn the vote. It cannot be, people are not just going to transfer, as the senator said, he just can't transfer it. People want to hear something. The reason why they're supporting Senator Sanders is because he's different. And that's what they're going to want to hear, too. They're not going for it anymore. People are not rolling over anymore like they used to. They are critically thinking about this kind of stuff and what kind of future they want. And so if she is the nominee, it's going to have to be earned, and it's going to have to be genuine. That's what people want, Tom.
To watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here. And please be sure to hit the handy-dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.